Yo, what is up folks, TG here, looking at one of the coolest decks in Pioneer Explorer today, and that is a Vannifar Combo. A very under-the-radar deck, one that doesn't get a lot of love, one that doesn't come up on ladder very much on Arena, or get played much of Paper and Pioneer, but it is quite potent, it does have a combo, and it did also get a lot better. So first let's talk through the combo. Obviously the centerpiece here is Prime Speaker Vannifar. It costs 4 mana, and has this ability: tap, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a creature card with the mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's mana value, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle, activate as a sorcery. Okay, cool. So that birthing pod style effect, and we have a combo here which we can do with it. So how does that work? Vannifar sacrifices a creature, finds a creature that's bigger. Fine. Alright. We have these elves here, which cost 1. So the first part of our combo is Corridor Monitor. 1 in the blue for a 1/4. When it enters the battlefield, untap, target artifact or creature control. So in this case, when it enters, we're going to untap Vannifar, which lets us then activate it again. But we can, like, hey, we've got a 1-drop in play, we're going to pot away her Corridor Monitor. There are some other kind of like roundabout things you can kind of go around this. But step 1, Corridor Monitor, untap Vannifar. We're then going to sacrifice the Corridor Monitor, which then lets us get a 3-drop. And the 3-drop we're going to find is Extraction Specialist. 2 in a white, for 3/2 with lifelink. Enter the battlefield, return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. The creature can't attack or block. Okay, cool. I think you can see where this is going. We pot away the Corridor Monitor, get back the Extraction Specialist, get back the Corridor Monitor with the Extraction Specialist ability. Corridor Monitor then untaps Vannifar. You then have a 2-drop with the Corridor Monitor, a 3-drop in play with the Extraction Specialist, which, hey, bonus, has lifelink. Alright. We're then, now we've untapped the Vannifar, going to pot away the Corridor Monitor again. And we're going to get an Extraction Specialist. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. You've got 4 specialists in play, you bring back the Corridor Monitor, you're untapping the Vannifar. Okay, cool. Then what we're going to do is going to do exactly the same thing, but with Glasspool Mimics, copying Extraction Specialist. So Glasspool Mimic, 3 mana, so you can pot into it from the Corridor Monitor. You can enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control, except it's a Shapeshifter, Rogue, and other types. So we're going to go ahead and get another 4 Extraction Specialists, bringing back the Corridor Monitor each time. Sweet. So we have 4 Extraction Specialists in play, 12 power, 4 Glasspool Mimics in play, another 12 power, and then we're going to go, and the last thing we're going to go get is an Imodane's Recruiter. This is a new card from Wilds of Eldraine. It is a new, actually a huge buff to the deck. Previously, you just had an effect to give the creatures haste. Now, it's also giving them +1/+0. So whenever Imodane's Recruiters enter the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste on a turn. And this gives all the creatures you just brought into play haste. You've got 4 copies of Extraction Specialist, ideally, 4 copies of Glasspool Mimic, ideally, and also the Imodane's Recruiter, and whatever else you had in play before. Really, really cool. This does, admittedly, have a limited amount of damage it can deal, so there are points where you can struggle versus life gain decks, and there are some interaction pieces you can also tutor for to kind of clear the way in some spots. And the other thing to remember is that the Extraction Specialists and the Glasspool Mimics, obviously, you can draw these, and hey, it's not like a quote-unquote perfect combo, it's not like a guarantee you kill it each time, but you're doing 12, 24, 32, 34, 35, 36 here, plus whatever else you have in play. And also, bonus, versus aggro decks, you're also gaining a ton of life with Extraction Specialists. So, hey, unless your opponent's got a lot of blockers, you have lethal almost all the time. But again, there are some little tricks and things we can do to kind of like get around that. So, let's go through the actual list. We've got 4 copies of Elvish Mystic and 4 copies of Land Elves. These help us accelerate. Obviously, Vannifar costs 4 mana. Importantly, these help us get there quicker and also accelerate us with our other stuff. We have like a backup game plan here, and we're also using and leveraging some kind of new cards we've got into the format on Arena in the form of Court of Calling and Eldritch Evolution, which kind of brings us to 2. So 2, we have Innkeeper, which gets us mana for Vannifar. The treasure actually is really important because it casts all the colours. Obviously, Vannifar needs blue, Elvish Mystics make green. Our mana base is a little tight, and so Innkeeper helps us there, also gains us life, gain life with all the triggers and stuff as well, and keeps you in the game versus aggro decks. We obviously have our 1 copy of Corridor Monitor, which you can go back later. It's important to note as well that if it gets like Thought Seized or goes to the graveyard early, we can just bring it back with an Extraction Specialist. We have as many ways to pod into 3 as we have in 2, and so that's not an issue. And the last thing here is that we've got 4 copies of Voice Resurgence. This gives us a nice alternate game plan. It gives us a real punishing way to play versus control decks, and then also nicely gives us a way we can kind of use this to Eldritch Evolution away while getting value for Vannifar. Also, the tokens that you get off of Voice are just huge threats that also just increase your damage output when you're actually going off, which is nice. So yeah, Voice Resurgence, if your opponent tries to kill it, well, when it dies, it makes a token anyway, with power and stuff equals the number of creatures you control. We're trying to go towards the board, that makes sense. But also when your opponent casts a spell during your turn. And so it gives you another nice way to like, hey, if you want to counter my Vannifar, I'm going to get a bunch of value, you're going to die to like these voice tokens. If you draft my board, I've got tokens still, etc, etc. It's a nice one to pot out of. It's also a nice one to Eldritch Evolution out of. So quite nice. And the tokens also contribute to you being able to call a calling later on. So then at 3 are actual combat pieces. The 4 Extraction Specialist, the 4 copies of Glassful Mimic, and the Imodane's Recruiter. And then along with those, we have a Reflector Mage. I actually was playing a Knight of Autumn in the main deck. You can still do that. It is nice, just like, hey, sometimes your opponent might have like a main deck artifact enchantment that stops you going off. But Reflector Mage deals with most of the creature things, can kind of like be like, alright, cool, I'm going to get rid of that. The reason why we're playing Reflector Mage over something like a Brutal Cathar or Skyclave Apparition type effect is that Reflector Mage stops them casting it again. So if you have to like go there, get the Reflector Mage the first turn and then go off the second turn, they can't then play it or play even another copy of the same card on their turn, which is super solid. Whereas if you have like a Brutal Cathar effect, you can like maybe exile the card, but then if they have another copy of it, then you're back in the same situation. Reflector Mage gives you the actual turn window to turn things around. 2 copies of Eldritch Evolution, again, pod away from Voice Resurgence, Innkeeper into Vannifar, pretty nice there. And then also 4 copies of Quarter Calling, we're trying to leverage here, obviously was brought in Explorer Anthology 3. But we haven't, hasn't actually seen tons of play in Arena, it's not a popular Arena card. But hey, it's a nice one there. Obviously, it's existed in Pioneer for quite a while, but this deck's not super popular there either, despite being, again, pretty good. And we're going to take this to some ranked games and see how that plays out. The last thing here is that we have 4 copies of Tyvar Jubilant Brawler. The thing we haven't really identified yet is, hey, Vannifar's cool, it's a 4-mana creature with this awesome ability, but you need to untap with it, and it's fine if you're calling for it on your end step, but Tyvar lets you go about that another way. Because it has this ability, static on it, you may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures have haste. Works with all the mana guys as well, but importantly with Vannifar, just super awesome. Does have some other text on it. +1 to untap a creature. Lets you either get multiple activation with Vannifar, double acceleration with mana, and then also has this mill 3 cards ability. You want to be a little careful here, but it does give you a nice alternate game plan, especially when you're kind of just destroying your opponent with Voice Resurgence, or you've got a voice and you're doing your voice things, being able to bring it back is pretty nice. But mill 3 cards, then you return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Solid. Voice, obviously got a bunch of things. Gives you a way to get back the corridor monitor as well, just in case. And importantly, gives Vannifar haste. Really important and really awesome in the deck. The mana base is where things get a bit messy. So, we've got these Llanowar Elves, we need to cast those. Vannifar needs blue. Voice Resurgence needs white. If we're casting Extraction Specialists and Reflector Mage, we need different colours. We have 4 copies of Mana Confluence, which can be painful. We have 4 copies of Botanical Sanctum, 4 copies of Razorverge Thicket, kind of painless lands, kind of make up for some of this. We have 2 Overgrown Tomb and 4 Blooming Marsh, so we can have enough sources to cast the Tyvar. Lastly, a Boseiju, again, pesky artifacts and enchantments, it's a nice one to be able to deal with. Things like Temporary Lockdown as well as just being a nice interaction piece versus decks like Fires, where you kind of don't have the combo necessarily as early as possible. That's the main deck. The sideboard that I have here. Oops, realised that I only had 13 cards there. The last 2 cards were the Scavenging Users for Greasefang, but I was messing around with the list a bit earlier. So, at the top, we've got 2 copies of Shaper Sanctuary. This, alongside Vivian Monster's Advocate, provide our kind of game plan versus slow grinding decks that kind of have removal for all our creatures, where it's going to be hard for us to combo. Shaper Sanctuary, whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell or ability and opponent controls, you may draw a card. And then Vivian Monster's Advocate lets you cast creatures off the top of your library. While doing that, it also makes Beast itself. It's just kind of a real house army and a can card. Land this early off of the mana creatures, and your opponent's going to struggle to deal with everything you have. We have 1 copy of Golgari Charm, which is a nice piece of tech here. Not only does it destroy enchantments, but also regenerates these creatures you control, which just gives you some nice proof versus rats. 1 copy of Brutal Cathar. Again, there are some decks where the Reflector Mage isn't perfect, so we have Brutal Cathar alongside 2 copies of Night of Autumn for those artifacts and enchantments. Again, you could choose to play one of these in the main deck, but you're really tight on space, so I decided to cut it in the end. And the last thing here, creature-wise, is a Selfless Glyph Weaver. You can chord for this, because you can tutor for it. It is a way to give your creature indestructible. It's just another card versus rats alongside the Golgari Charm. The last two cards I added were Things versus Greasefang. Unfortunately, we cannot play Rest in Peace because we need to be able to recur the Corridor Monitor from our graveyard with Extraction Specialist. That's kind of how the combo works. And so 2 Scavenging Users, which again we can tutor for with the Chords of Calling to deal with like Greasefang, other kind of graveyard shenanigans. Alongside that ultimate plan with the Vivians and the Shaper Sanctuaries, we also have Wedding Announcement, playing really nice with the Voice Resurgence and giving us a nice token-style backup plan. Just really, really solid card there. And then the last piece of that tech that I'm kind of trying out here is 2 copies of Call of Death Dweller. Bring them back from your graveyard. In particular, like decks where your opponent maybe has like Wrath effects, but doesn't have ways like spot removal to let you for you to combo. Call of Death Dweller to recur either like voice things or important pieces. Pretty nice. Alright, well, that is the sideboard. Let's hop into some rank matches. If you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. Again, this is one of my favorite decks, and try and cover as much like variety in the format as possible, but this is also super, super competitive, which hopefully we're about to demonstrate. So hey. Alright, first match with Vannifar. Super awesome deck. And excited to show it off. Got a bit, like, despite it being a very minor upgrade, it is actually like a huge boost in power. The new like 3-drop Cavell Creature's Haste. That extra power there is actually super, super necessary. We do have the Corridor Monitor in hand, we can kind of deal with that. We're just going to keep it. See what our opponent's up against. Well, see what our opponent's doing. Reds. Okay. And Corridor Monitor might have to do some blocking. That's possible. He might end up in a pickle. Soulscar with the counter. Plus the second one. Okay, yeah, I think. We don't need the treasure for Vannifar, so I kind of like doing this because it actually blocks. Like again, we don't mind the Corridor Monitor being in the graveyard as long as it's not. Oh, the other thing, yeah, we don't want to get exiled by Kamanos. Gonna have a little mini pop off here. All right. Yeah, the Corridor Monitor getting exiled by Kamano's ability would be rough. It looks like they're like in on the Wizards plan here, given they're playing Machine of Pyromancer. Light the stage here. Yeah, we know that we are safe to block here. Could also trade this off the battlefield, but I don't think we want to. 13 is not tons of life, but ooh. You can't do both this and this, right? Not in a good way. We do just want to play the Vannifar this turn, really. Try and live. Alright. Well, good luck, everybody. Hold our breath. They hit a light up a stage into the Commander, which isn't too bad. Importantly, we want etching to. We want them not to kill our Vannifar. We have some insurance again with the Extraction Specialist. In such a particular. Okay, do they have? Are they going to light up? They can still hit a land here though. They sort of do hit a land, but like only kind of. Okay, so we're safe. We can make some blocks before this can block one of these, and we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna put this here. So nothing disastrous happens. 3, 4, 1. Just blow this. Right, so let's talk about the combo. Get rid of the corridor monitor. Gonna find extraction specialist. Specialist gonna bring back the corridor monitor. Fortunately, there's anything in our graveyard, and then toggle time to speak of Vannifar. This is like click heavy. Be a little careful when you're like targeting things. Remember that you always want to be making sure to click Vannifar, and it does move to the left, so don't like accidentally click Extraction Specialist. Untap here. I say this now, I'm going to mess it up at some point. The other thing is with Glasspool Mimic, try not to get thrown off between the two different triggers. So here, again, Corridor Monitor. They're gonna keep it up. That's fair enough. All right. I don't know if we'll be able to get away with this twice versus Mono Red, but we can try. They're likely to have some spot removal. The Knight of Autumn's obviously gain us some life. Deal Commandos is like fine, but I don't really love Golgari Trump otherwise. Unlike Mono White, and even the Mono White doesn't have loads of X ones, the Mono Red deck just doesn't have any. They're playing Vishinos, but that's still not really worth it. Also because of a lot of creatures. We don't have tons here for red. I'm gonna bring the Shaper Sentries so they can stop it. They can like pick off our Elvish Mystics and Anor Elves and try and kind of like nickel and dime through our creatures. And I don't mind the Call of Death Dwellers either actually, but they're a little bit more suspect. They might be better than Eldritch Evolution just because we're not going to be able to keep creatures in play very reliably. And I don't think we need the Reflector Mage. So I think we're going to go... minus Reflector Mage. Maybe just... No, the two items pop that as well. Again, creatures in play is a struggle, so Chords obviously gets a lot worse when we don't have things to actually work with it. We might actually cut a third one, I think, here. Or... yeah. It's a matchup where you could consider cutting... It is a matchup where like you could trim a Vannifar because you have some ways to tutor for it, but we're obviously like trying to play the combo in. So let's get that here. I'm going to trim the extra Chord. It takes so... You need to like have all your creatures survive for Chord to be good, pretty much. Voice does a ton of... like... Voice is one of the best cards in the deck in that it kind of shores everything up. So it's like a kind of sleeper edition. Opponents on the play. We have the Extraction Specialist, we have Tyvar, but we have no like early anything. They've mulliganed once. We need to draw like one early creature, which is most of our deck. I think risk keeping this because like any 2-drop creature is just incredible. Even if it dies, you've got Extraction Specialist to bring it back. We can pot it away without Revolution to find the Vannifar, and we've got Tyvar to get the Vannifar haste as well. So, yeah. It's a bit of a gamble. I think going down to 6 is a little tricky. It's... ooh, that's not a great draw, but it is not that difficult to just mulligan into Oblivion with this deck. Because you're kind of split across 4 colours a bit. Like, look a bit disjointed. Alright, unfortunately, yeah. That light up the stage there might have just made our opponent's hand. Getting 2 lands. Drawing Vannifar is also not what we want to do. Okay. We want to draw a creature who can pot into Vannifar. Not Vannifar itself. So I'm going to take a beating here. 14 down to 8 is really, really tough. Pain. You go Tyvar minus, is that the plan? Tyvar minus is the back. It has the upside of being able to potentially just win us the game by accident as well. We don't know what the rest of their hand looks like, other than we know like they have the Bone Crusher Giant. Alright. We get the voice back. That at least is a bit of a wall. They also have to decide whether they want to kill Tyvar or not, but they know what we're up to now. Lava Runner there enough into the sorceries for this to have haste. They are going to remove the voice resurgence. But we get a token. Let's see. They are going to attack Tyvar. 2 things. I think we just say no blocks. Try and keep the voice token alive. Okay, so we hit Vannifar, but we're not actually going to be doing. This puts us to 4. Obviously, we're putting a life creature into play though. And play the land out. No attacks. Go ahead. Carries Ev. Will be good very, very soon. Okay. Does the Prosperous Creeper change anything? Carry Zev is like a huge problem. We need to attack with this now. We can also pot away the voice. You briefly go to 2. We get a life gain trigger here back, and then we also get to grab. I'm gonna grab Vannifar and pray. Alright, we have a pile of blockers there at 4. Land is just dead though, I think. I've not done the exact maths. So to be fair, they actually need to cast it as a sorcery to make the monetary spears above 1 power. But blocking the carries token is a problem. Uh-oh. Okay.
When people start screaming,
that one's tough.
time to toast your marshmallows.
Okay, we have good blocks here though, right? So chomp. Chomp. And then obviously we need to block some of this stuff. If these trade. This leaves us on 4. I think this looks good. Oh, the voice math doesn't quite check out. Oh, it does, just checks out. Okay. Oh, wait, we can front half combo? They're on 20. So this is 3, 11, 12, 13 right now. I have to be really wary of. We need to get Chandra dead.
Figure it out on your own.
We play this, we land on 3 with 3 blockers. That'll land dead again. Maybe. The thing is, untapping with Vannifar wins the game. Sort of. No, we just do this. Get the most creatures back. We land on more life. All that stuff. More life gain triggers. We can pod the voice away again, do similar things. Like now they can activate down to the Bugbear, which gives them 4 attackers. And they can also ram Aberrants. That one doesn't quite do it. So 5, 10, 1, 3. This doesn't attack. 6, 12. Let me make sure to attack with this thing. Let's just keep it up. Then I will. Yeah, okay. That's fair enough. I was trying to calculate the way that we play around, like, what they have the most. Like, land means I can activate. They have the book there. I was thinking top like a burn spell. We want to basically attack the extractor specialists, pot away the voice for another Vannifar, and then we can kill them next turn with the night thing. I think that's the line. I know, you're right. Next game. Match number 2. A pretty hard-fought game there versus Red. We managed to stabilize in that last one. Innkeeper really putting in a bunch of work there. Alright, this looks pretty decent. We've got like cord and stuff. We have a good old Mana Elf into Reflector Mage, which could be good against some things. See what our opponent's actually playing. Spirits? You just make them pick up. Making them just pick up the Mausoleum Wanderer sounds Kinda great. Just put this back. Basically want to populate creatures that we can cord later. If we can resolve the Vannifar this turn, we're obviously really, really good. Basically, bouncing this also stops them playing like a turn to the counter unless you pay 3 cheaper if you could have the Spirit and Enchantment card. Dice Light Snare. Ew. That's like nearly good enough. Now they're going to kind of get to untap and do stuff with it. Let's see. Cord for 1's interesting though. We maybe just threaten that. The extra mana that just helps us pay for stuff. It's going to be hard to cash in the Quarter Callings versus like Mausoleum Wonder anyway. I think that's actually kind of fine. Take what we can get. I'm going to wait though, and the kind of reason for that is to try and make them use mana on their turn. Double Spectral Sailor, okay. Do they have the enchantment? Faceless Haven, sure. Mausoleum Wanderer, sure. Gonna have some options. So now, like, do they sack the Wanderer to counter this? From our end, we know that we're getting like an Anna or an Elf. So I'm kind of fine with that. Because it helps us pay for Mausoleum Wanderer later. From their end, they're like, what are they getting? What's going on? So I'm going to sack this. Sure. In that case, it's like, do they have a Lofty Denial? What else do they have? I'm going to attack with a Reflected Mage, just in case they do anything. They do not, so I'm going to try and land a Vannifar. And it's going to get countered, and then we're going to play a Glasswell Mimic and pass the turn. All that being said, not under that much pressure yet. Yeah, there is the Geist Light Snare we were kind of trying to play around. He unfortunately did not draw the untap land last turn. Alright. Now we're like a not dissimilar spot to before. We can call for 3 here. Doesn't do a ton hit, but call for 4 is like kind of the magic number at this point. We can power this up, so we don't really want to attack with the thing. I think I do play the specialist out because it can attack in and kind of like get us some life back and buy us some time. They also could just counter it, which would be fine too. We'd be happy with that. Well, the one kind of upside here is that Spirits doesn't have a lot of ways to interact with the Vannifar once it's in play. There's a couple of things to bounce it, but hey, it's largely going to be fine. They're now like under a decent amount of pressure to actually increase their clock. Whether that be by playing Lords out, which they'll have to do at sorcery speed because they don't get to have a rattle chains. Yeah. That kind of thing. There are also windows like that where if they do something like that again, we've got some more mana open, we can go ahead and start hoarding again. They're going to leave the Ascendant Spirit back to block with. Alright. The way this is going, I think imagine let's go pass here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus the mana. I'll play the Innkeeper. Keep the life flowing. Okay, we need 7 mana for this basically. What does it turn into? A 4/4. Awkward. I say go, and basically when they go to level this up and they've got no mana, we're gonna go ahead and play this for 4. And we can see what they actually have interaction-wise. We're not dead yet. They could just bounce the Vannifar. That is possible. They have like a Brazen Borrower type thing. They potentially also could have a way to fade it out, but that's less permanent. Yeah, Phantom. They're gonna go for damage here. 8-13 as opposed to out of 5, but we know that we've got them beat. Ooh, Island. Okay, is not about spell. We appear to be okay. So let's not make this up. We want to go. Actually, cancel. We'll make green man off the elf first. We're gonna go ahead and pot away Elvish Mystic. Get the corridor monitor. Untap Vannifar. Go do this thing. Get Extraction Specialist. I'm gonna get the corridor monitor. Again, just careful with the Vannifar moves. Go again. Go again. So, last Extraction Specialist, and now we're going to find the Glassball Mimics. Corridor Monitor. Vannifar. Glassball Mimic. As an Extraction Specialist. Get the Corridor Monitor again. Vannifar. And here we go. Obviously it's easier when there's only one creature in your graveyard, but yeah. Yeah, again, careful with your screen. Careful with the cards moving. Mimic, Specialist. Corridor Monitor. Vannifar. Corridor Monitor away. And we'll get the Recruiter. Recruiter gives everything +1 +0 haste. And we're in the red zone. Nice. Yeah, opponent is looking to see what has happened, I guess. I don't know what the familiarity like the average arena player has with the deck. I imagine most haven't seen it play out before. At least, like, I'm playing in plat here. I generally don't end up playing enough arena to really like reach mythic every season. I largely just play when I'm recording videos, and maybe a bit outside of that, just like test things out. If there's like a deck I'm like, oh, this would be a sweet idea, let me like get to a good version of it, or maybe it's not played. 9 out of 10 decks built by the best suck is a nice quote. But yeah, nice. They're now familiar with what we're doing, and now we have to kind of combat their potential hate. This is a matchup where I am a fan of the Golgari Charm, despite it having some particular weaknesses. The Knights of Autumn can also help, because they've obviously got some really nice draws of Curious Obsession, but it's still not that great. And the Brutal Cathar, everything else is pretty dead, and largely devoted to being like lower decks. We don't want to board too heavily, but at the same time, there are some problematic things. I'm going to take the Reflected Mage out because they're not going to have anything to really stop us. Most of the blue-white Spirit stack, there are some cards they could have. Like they could board into something like Containment Priest, which would stop you. And then, let's see. One of the things here is that Voice Resurgence, while it gums the ground up really well, I mean, it makes a bunch of tokens to silver flash things. I'm kind of on board with this. But Quarter Calling, as we saw, has some problems there, just because they've got Mausoleum Wanderer, a couple of other ways to counter the sorceries. I think this, and then, like, realistically trimming a Vannifar is fine, or trimming like an Extraction Specialist. None of our creatures are kind of going to the graveyard. We don't really, like, we're not, like, massively having to do, like, tons of damage to kill our opponent. They're not getting any life. They're not putting loads of blockers into play. So, from 20, you can still win through at least 4 blockers. Which is kind of cool. So we have Elvish Mystic, but not a white land for the voice. Do have Eldritch Evolution, Glassball Mimic. They mulliganed. There's another hand that kind of gets like fixed by one card, where Versus Spirits in particular, I don't know if I would necessarily want to give up all the equity. There are also some like, if we draw another creature we can cast, like we can Eldritch Evolution away and get some correct mana sources. I'm gonna keep it. The Mech Mulligan's okay. Like going to 5 is really tough because the mana can be like so awkward. For example, here, like we don't have a white source, but we do have like 12 to draw into. Yeah, that being one of them. So let's lead. The Beseiju could be useful. At the same time, preserving our FSL early is pretty great. Let's do this, because maybe if they've got like a mulligan hand and they're relying heavily on Furious Obsession, we can kind of punish them for that with Beseiju. Though, like, giving them lands is also kind of bad, and for the same reasons. They've just scooped it up, so I guess they kept a one lander and just didn't hit, which is tough. But hey, we will take the win and move it along. Alright, one more match of Vannifar. 2-0 so far. Had a pretty nice set of games. Opponent did like mulligan and then just concede after turn one, last one. But hey, they kept a one lander. They can get punished for that. That is magic. We'll keep this. Mystic, Voice, Reflected Mage, Tyvar. Just look for a way to find or Vannifar itself. It's been able to play it as well. Yorion. Essentially, blue white looks to be Fires of Evermire. Not Fires of Evermire. Fires of. Anyway, yeah. The other Fires. Can't currently cast Tyvar. We'll go ahead and do this. Just make the voice. Be a pain. Here's see what they do from their end. Second Tyvar isn't fantastic. Holding for 2 gets us a whatchamacallit. I can get us another voice. Or a way to cast a Tyvar. I'm just going to pass, I'm going to call for 2. While yes, it can get Vannifar later on, we're not close to that yet. And being able to like do Tyvar things is pretty solid. That would be good enough. Okay, like that feels pretty decent. So we can pick we can force them to pick the token up as well here. There's a lot of red sources over there. I'm a little worried they're on some like weirdo creativity deck, but let's call for 2. So what I'm thinking is to go ahead and get a Innkeeper. That gives us the mana for black, the black mana. Okay, kind of nice. Casting Tyvar. I blocked. Sick. Love that. That means you have something guaranteed to actually get back off this, which I quite like. And yeah, we can tap in a way that we can still cast a Voice Resurgence afterwards. I'm a little wary of this dying, but we should get to build our board here. And we've not even given too much away for it. So let's grab the voice, make another one for style points. To quote somebody, we play it like a set. And now we're like, okay, Vannifar at the top is game. Vannifar are like caught off the top. Eldritch Evolution off the top. All of those things lead to victory. We do have a Tyvar on 1. Like they could Bunker Shine it. That is kind of their turn if they decide to do that. Just mana wise, they have black. They have like Gen mana. Okay, plus white. Are they not playing blue? Are they on like Mardu green? Yorion? Obviously, don't know for sure. Right click pathway is a bit of a oddity, I think, from my perspective. They might also be, I should say, on some kind of beseech deck. Okay. That's like annoying and stuff. Would rather kind of hold the we can't recast any timer. Yeah. Let's go for damage in play then. Just play out the Reflector Mage.
There's that second wind.
Vannifar a little less live now. I was thinking actually, yeah, this could be a beseech the mirror list. In fact, is a beseech the mirror list. We'll see what they're going to cast here. Could just be some kind of wrath. Wouldn't be that surprised by that. We have at least Tyvar on 2. A second Tyvar in hand, if we can get a black source or way to make that mana. I'm curious. So if you're not familiar with Beseech, 1 black. Bargains, you can sacrifice an enchantment, artifact, or token when you play it. You get to search your library for a card, and then, if it was bargained, and it costs 4 or less, you can... Oh, Doom Foretold is like a really nice... Oh. Okay. Really do just want to find Vannifar. Miserable. I think minus of bringing back a voice is probably fine. Like, okay, if we sacrifice the voice, we get more tokens. I mean, we're probably not comboing this game. I mean, like, you can still draw into it, but we're also like missing so much. We can also like, yeah, this is the actual correct play. Make the new one, down tick the new one. Get another voice back. Use the combat with the 4/4s. Stacks. I don't want to discard, so I'm going to play the Botanical Sanctum. And then, like, when this ticks back around, we can sacrifice the Royce Resurgence to make another big token. Or even potentially sacrifice the Innkeeper. Still tough. They do have to sacrifice the Dupatol themselves, so... Okay. Double-edged swords, kind of. Treacherous Blessing is dangerous. This card says, whenever you cast a spell, lose a life. But they do also have things like Oath of Fire. I'm going to target Tyvar here. They go to 12. Okay, no. Sure. I'll sacrifice the voice. You get the token. Oh, that's such a... Either way is kind of down if we do, down if we don't.
We can do this all day.
Guess I hold this. They still have down to the tokens. They're going to sacrifice away the Treacherous Blessing so they don't take any life off of it. They're on 6. They like need to find a Wrath. They can beseech for it, so they have like more Wraths in their deck. I've seen them use a Miho Massacre already. Let's see. If the Dupatol pops, and so if we can't sacrifice the thing, then they get some life, we lose some life. We discard, they draw a card. They make a 2/2. New Oath of Kai just dropped. What are we hitting? One of the tokens, okay. Goes into 9. We have some really good draws. The Tyvar is going to bite the dust here. It's a bit of a different matchup, really. So, nice to get some variety. Also, this deck is sweet. Dupatol like a perfect home for Beseech. Obviously, they're kind of going a bit deeper. One of the cool things, Beseech, obviously, you want to have lots of tutor targets for. You're in playing 8 cards without like as much of a downside, maybe. Pretty cool there. See what they actually beseech for here. I imagine it'll just be some kind of rat to clear up these two. Maybe like a Path of Peril or something like that. We don't know the exact contents. They might also have something wild to put into play. They could get another Doomfisar, which wouldn't be too bad either. Just gonna get an Oathguy, okay. It's like saddeningly fair. Mana Confluence, we'll keep this in hand. Oh, in for one. Buffer for the discard. Any 2-drop gets us Vannifar. Fully Frazzle Cannon. This kind of sweet. Ooh, Demonic Pact. So, I have a video on the channel on Doom Patrol, which you can go have a look at, where I died to my own Demonic Pact in one of the games, so that's cool. We're still not like, oh, they can just make us discard our 2 cards here. That's pretty good. I mean, sort of. We're still like, it's well because they've actually not seen a Vannifar. I'm almost tempted just to concede so they don't get to see anything else. They may know what's up, but they also might not. Let's see if they save the Orient or they just make it. Catcher's Blessing, get some more cards. Like, the Doom Patrol deck is very, very sweet. That is a shame. Sure. Play to the outs or whatever. They can just do a 4 damage to this. Or 4 damage to us, actually, with the... They're gonna shoot down the Innkeeper. Fair enough. Yeah. I'll take one more draw step, and then for the interest of time, I think we'll pack it up and go to game 2. Finding, yeah, sure. So, this is a deck without. I love Break the Treasure. It's a deck without a ton of spot removal. Like, they're relying heavily on Oathguy. If you look at the cards they played, not many of these are, say, target creature. These are just these. And so, yeah, this is like one of the cards that can kind of buy us out. They're gonna... They just draw 2 cards. They have to play Orient this turn. Or sacrifice the Pact. So, you know what? We'll play the Pact out. See if they forget. In theory, they're dead on their upkeep. If you're not familiar, Demonic Pact has like 4 things you can do, and the 4th one is lose the game. So the first time, or in any order, you draw 2 cards, your opponent discards 2 cards, and then deal 4 damage to target any target you gain 4 life. Then the kind of like back half of that is you lose the game. So he's used 3 modes on it now. If they, for whatever reason, didn't blink it here, then they would lose the game on their upkeep. They're going to have Voices as draw. They're going to they've oath our token away. They're actually going to face with it. It's even worse. Let's go to game 2. So again, not much targeted removal, and so the Sacred Sanctuaries aren't that great. The Vivians are fantastic. The Night of Autumn, as you can imagine, are probably really awesome. And I kind of quite like the Call of Death Dwellers, given the way the game's played out. Which means we have 6 cards, which is a lot to board in. Voice was obviously like pretty strong there. We're going to keep the combo in, but we're going to, like, you know, hey, not be as in on it. We can like Knight into, you can like Evo into Knight and do some of the shenanigans there, but we want to be a little careful. Again, creatures in play, Quarter Calling. We want some copies, but not loads. Reflector Mages, they're really not playing many of their own creatures. And then I think I kind of want to trim like a couple of combo bits. I'm going to cut down a little bit on the Glasspool Mimics, and then or more cards. Ivor kind of really plays in, the extra company. Tyvar really plays into this like game plan that we actually nearly won with, where we're just kind of like recurring voice, kind of nickel and diming them out. But they managed to kind of make their way through that. We just didn't draw into our actual combo engine in time. Just needed a Vannifar. So, we do get to be able to play. Let's see if we can claw our way back into this. This looks pretty solid. Yeah, there are some specific cards that are very good against this hand. But voice helps to kind of mitigate that. Which, I know I've said a million times already in this video, but hey, we'll say it a million times more. I'm going to get Tyvar into play here early. And we will double up our elves, because this allows us to sequence Tyvar into Vivian on turn 3, which seems like a winning formula. Even if we don't draw the land, we can just untap an Animal Elf. Sorry, untap an Elvish Mystic here with the Tyvar. They're gonna fatal push one. Nuisance.
Show them what you're made of.
Right. We're in like a cool spot, I guess. We got trample tokens here. And then Vivian lets us see the top card of our library, cast creature cards off the top. Treacherous Blessing. We know we're not drawing Vannifar right away. Reactor Specialist is not a bad draw, we kind of like that. And Treacherous Blessing isn't one of the ones we actually want to blow up. We actually just want to aggro. We want to try and cast our way to Wards of Vannifar. I think if there's a way to manipulate the top card with like Tyvar and do some real nonsense. But I think not right now. We're like leading into turn 4 where they could cast Beseech. We have odds and evens. This is fine. I'm just gonna plus this.
You've got this.
Like we have good answers running enchantments I could play. And like 2-turn lethal. Finding the Old Gods is pretty good. What we pop in. I'm gonna go for the Vivian, which makes sense. It's the more powerful Planeswalker. Just gonna send everything into the red zone. This such as library for lands tapped. I'm just gonna play voice. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to make sure I'm not in a position where I have to sacrifice the Tyvar.
Ready for round 2.
I think I get a land. They need to find a Wrath or they're dead anyway. Some other stuff going on. Oh yeah, this is not a basic forest. Like triumphs and stuff. Pretty fancy. We've not seen Leyline Binding actually, but they could have it. They're going to scoop it up. So we're going to get to game 3. They've still not seen the combo. They could potentially know that it's here. But I'm pretty happy with how he's boarded. The only things, like, we could be a little, like, it's game 4, like, being a little bit more off the combo is not as bad. Because what we saw was, like, Midnight Massacre. I'm actually not keen on the Selfless Weaver. But, these wedding announcements could be good. How in on, like, tokens are we going? I've got a Vannifar. We still got the Eldritch Evolution Institute for it, but, yeah. It's really tough. I say that having us not actually drawn one at all throughout the first 2 games. And it being lethal for most of the first 2 games. So, hey, what do you know? Yeah, they have kept 7. Alright, well. We have a turn 1 elf. Let's see. Yeah, fine. Blooming Marsh, Innkeeper. Looking for like Tyvar into potential Vannifar. Would be cool. In a spot where I like am fine sacrificing the treasure to cast Extraction Specialist if need be. Notably, like though the creature can't attack, it can still make mana, where possible. Yeah, added Yorion, but we've not really played anything on the board. Playing this for white. I mean, this has like.
Whoever slays the most Phyrexians wins. It's not a victory.
Yeah. This lets us to have like top deck lethal basically, so I figured this would be a better play than just making the Extraction Specialist. Also, like having the treasure in play means that like, hey, we still got access to more stuff. Oath of Kaya is going to shoot down Tyvar, maybe? Yeah. It's kind of fine. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. Don't love our hand at all. Yeah. I'm going to hold the Specialist until we have something to play off them, or until the Innkeeper dies, I think. Kind of one and the same. Demonic Pact here does threaten to rid our hand of cards, so we want to try and use as many as possible. Yeah. 3 or 6. I don't want a position where like flickering. Oh, they can. Pressure it is. Okay. I basically like wanting to be in a position where if they go Yorion, this hand says like wrath me or you die. Basically, they have Demonic Pact and Oath of Kaya, and they've got the Orange to flicker them. So like, can we present enough damage here? Is like an important-ish question. But now we're not. Well, we're unlikely to lose. Yeah, they only need 4 damage to kill the Tyvar here. Means we keep the board, and we don't lose the cards in hand. So we will lose the cards in hand soon. If they actually flip the Demonic Pact. There's 3 modes left on it. Discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards, lose the game. Again, limited interaction. Okay, this resets it, which means having that 4 damage up does unfortunately allow them to interact with Vannifar, which is not cool. We don't like that. You know what? Fair enough. Like, if we play no creatures, they are going to make us discard the Specialists. If we play the Specialists, they're likely gonna, like, you know, damage here. This at least, again, applies some pressure. We're drawing cards towards stuff. They might make a discard here. Nah, they're gonna dig. Just try and find a Wrath, maybe. Tough one. Tough one, tough one, tough one. We've been forced a little bit to overextend because of the way the draw's played out. Not being able to hold our cards in hand for fear of the Pact is certainly annoying. Okay, proving around. Synthesizer does make a 2/2, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. They have damage available here, but we can make No, they don't have damage available. Interesting. Got 2 cards, lose the game. They need another way to sacrifice this as well. Kind of screw it. They're gonna eat some stuff, sure. We're gonna go this thing. A mimic on top.
I will let cities and no longer.
Not something we want to draw into, but we get discarded probably, so it's okay. We'll make this with reach so that we can block Yorion.
We will adapt to any threat.
I'll end turn to make it look like we have a good card in hand. When we're actually kind of fine for them to discard us. So now they have to deal with what we've got going on in play, the Vivian, and also the Demonic Pact actually just killing them on their upkeep. Which might actually happen here. That seems to be where we're going. Okay, they've beseeched sacrificing Oath of Kaya, but they've not sacrificed Damnable Pact. Oh, Harmless Offering. Oh, that's so sick! Oh my gosh. I hadn't even thought that was the case. Oh, okay. That's cool. So that's what the red's for. I guess you just play one copy and you can beseech for it. Awesome. Oh, that's amazing. Alright, well, I'll see you guys in post-game, but that was a super sweet game of Magic. What a wild set of Magic. That last game was crazy. Alright, that was the coolest thing that's happened to me all day, so, hey, nice. Harmless Offering, Demonic Pact, neat, but as like a one card in your 80 card Yorion deck with Beseech, seems actually, like, awesome. Love that, might have to give it a try at some point, but the deck has actually performed really, really well. It's a little clunky, the mana's not perfect. There have been like other versions that play some of the like creature type lands, like you can go kind of wizard for Reflect a Mage, because Vannifar's a wizard, or like elf where it taps for like land or elves and Vannifar, but adding the planeswalker like Tyvar is a little bit trickier. Outside of that, voice kind of locking everything, like keeping everything together, while we like, try and find our combo has been pretty good. More Eldritch Evolution I think could be the way to go, maybe take the chords down to 3, up 3 Eldritch Evolutions. His evolution was actually, I think, a bit better than Chord. Chord often a little bit awkward, at least versus like actually creatures interacting against you. Things like Mono Green, where, and again, like things like Fires, where they're not going to be like having as much spot removal for your creatures. Chord Calling, absolutely great, and this those are the matchups where this deck really excels. But we did win a bunch there today, and you have a lot of game versus aggro just with like Voice coming up the board, and also like, all the extraction specialists with Lifelink. The combo itself, very, very good, but hey, just be careful when you're clicking through. I've definitely misclicked it before, even if I didn't in the videos we saw today, in the match we've just played. Yeah, it's just one, just like, be patient. The client doesn't time you out. As long as you're taking actions, you're well within the like kind of like time span to be able to do all of your clicks. You can be a bit careful. The main deck, yeah, the only change I think I'd make is like -1 chord, +1 Eldritch Evolution. Everything else I think is like very solid. The mana base, is shaky, but I think that there's like not a ton you can do about that. Sideboard cards, Vivian, I think is great. The cores, I think, are good. Wedding Announcement, like there's like a bunch of different kind of like anti like Rakdos, Mono Black, like there's the decks that want to just like spot removal all your creatures to death. Like Cole's really good, Wedding Announcement's really good there, plays really well with Voice Resurgence. The Vivian's obviously a more expensive option. You can't have like I've played 3 before in some decks when I'm playing like elves, but that's quite a lot. You don't want to have too many really expensive cards. Maybe Sanctuary is also really good, especially versus Rakdos, and also actually versus like Sacrifice. Sacrifice is another matchup which is pretty sketchy because obviously all your sacrifices trigger Mayhem Devil. That is one where you absolutely need the Reflector Mage. You're like, okay, the first turn I'm gonna go get the Reflector Mage, make the pick up the Mayhem Devil, and kind of like have a turn off of Mayhem Devil where they can't recast it. We get to untap and then do a combo thing without Mayhem Devil in play. Pretty nice. Glaive Weaver I think is fine. There are some other things where you could play instead of this effect. But hey, yeah. The Knights think are good. Again, you could play Knight in the main deck. There's very, very little space, I feel. Like, there's not, like, tons of wiggle room here. Like, the only real flex... Like, the Voice Research is kind of the flex slot, but it does so much in the deck that I think it's too good, really, to start cutting away. Which maybe means that, like, maybe we should have, like, an extra Temple Garden here or something. Over one of the overgrown teams. But again, like, casting Tyvar is really important. Yeah, it's just pretty tough. But largely happy there as well. Hope you enjoyed the video. This is one of my favorite decks in the format. It's one I've played like a ton. I've got a couple of different videos on kind of like the iterations of it as it went from one of the versions of the deck actually is like going in on like humans, but also like just playing a humans deck that just also has access to this combo finish. So hey, check that out. That is on the channel from probably about 4 or 5 months ago. But yeah, I've done a few different videos on it. This is the latest version. This is where I think it is best at the moment. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like, subscribe, share it around. I really appreciate it. And yeah, have a great day. Thanks for watching.